Welcome in, everybody. Boy, my voice just went really high there. I don't know. I'm 47, so I'm not sure what that's all about.
You're a baby. You're a baby, Brett.
Yes, I know. Well, my 7-year-old tells me that I'm an old man. So,
That's a miracle.
yeah, it's hilarious. He even like does these weird impressions about me walking around with the cane, which I don't know where he gets it.
That's
Uh,
great.
yeah. Anyway, I digress. We are chatting with Siobhan Fallon Hogan, who is the writer, producer of this brand new film, and she is the lead, Rushed, which will be available everywhere in theaters, video on demand, August 27th. Siobhan, welcome into the show. It's great to have you here today.
Thank you, Brett, for having me. I really appreciate it. Yes, Rushed will be all over the country on August 27th and on Apple, iTunes, Amazon. I'm supposed to say all that. And I'm really excited for people to see it. It's a great thriller.
Yes, it is amazingly fantastic, surprising. And I have to say, if you guys do not win some kind of award for this, it's an absolute shame. But I have to ask you because this film addresses a lot of important topics,
Yes.
but one that I haven't really seen recently, or if at all, about the topic of fraternities and rushing and hazing. How did you come up with this idea to tackle this subject? And can you also let our listeners in, for those who have not had the honor of seeing it yet, what the film is about?
Well, yes, your listeners can go to Rushed Movie 2021 and watch the trailer. And this comes from a place from a mom who has 4 kids. In life, I have 3 kids. I have 2 daughters and a son. And I think most parents will attest to the fact that in this day and age, it's rough because we have these cell phones. We can keep in touch with our kids. And if they don't get back to us, your imagination runs wild.
Yes.
Then they go off to college, and it's just bizarre that we can still keep in such contact. I mean, when I was in college, I remember lining up to use the payphone with a quarter, and you had like 3 minutes to be like, hi, I'm good. Send money. How's dad?
Yes.
Come by. Hey, gotta go. But now it's like, hey, are you home yet? Don't drink too much. Hey, make sure you check in with me. And then, you go to bed, and 2:00 in the morning, you hear nothing. 3, 4, 5, your mind runs wild. You're like, my kid's dead, or, something horrible's happened. And so it basically came from that point of view of the mom who was just like, her oldest child has gone off to college. She's too much of a helicopter mom. There's a lot of humor in the movie, as you have seen, because, the mom drives her other kids absolutely crazy. And I'm sorry, I just pushed something. Did I do something wrong?
No, you're good.
Oh, good. So, anyway, so at first it's funny, it's like they're in the minivan. She's like, let's call Jimmy at college, see how he's doing. They're like, Mom, lay off. And then she's encouraging and helping him with his pledge. Then when things go awry and go wrong, what does the mom do? Does she take the high road and take the right route? Does she back off and just tend to the family? Or does she take the matters into her own hands and take the law into her own hands? And this is where the thriller comes into play.
Yes.
So that's where it came from.
Yes. And as the press release says, hell hath no fury than a mother scorned. And
that's right.
This is very true. And of course, it stars Robert Patrick, who is fantastic as your husband in the film. My God. I mean, could you have picked anybody better?
Well, I've known Robert for a long time, and he is a superb, as my father would say, top shelf actor.
Yes.
He's done it all. He's played Johnny Cash's father in Walk the Line. He's been in The Terminator. He's an incredible actor, and he's an incredible person. And he's an incredible dad. His daughter's in the movie, Austin.
Yes.
She played the sorority girl. So when I wrote the film and I needed someone to be similar to my own husband in real life, who's a real man's man. My husband played rugby. My husband wasn't a frat. I said, I didn't have to think for more than 1 second. I was like, Robert Patrick. And then the fact that Robert said yes, because Robert's used to a nice paycheck, and this is an independent film. And he said, well, let me read it. I mean, you can be great friends, but you got to make sure you're doing good material. And he's like, Siobhan, I'm all in. So we got Robert Patrick, then we got Jake Weary from Animal Kingdom, who I've worked with in the past. JJ Warren, who plays my son, I've worked with before. I've worked with the cinematographer for Matthias Schubert, who's superb. And our director, Vibeke Musaya, is Danish and came from Lars Von Trier, who co-produces his company Zentropa co-produces because I've done 3 films with him. So it's just a culmination of all these people that I've worked with over the years who I think are superb, who came together and knocked it out of the ballpark.
Yes, I watched this last night, and yesterday was my birthday, and this was a great
Happy
present.
birthday.
Thank you to watch. And I was just taken in from the very beginning. This is a fantastic film. And also, having been in a fraternity and rushed, I found this film extremely relatable. And I mean, it's almost like art imitating life in some ways to
Well,
a degree.
that's what it is, right? I mean, that's what art does, right? If you do it right. So there's the family that's like fights with each other and they laugh with each other. And then when the times get tough, the tough get going, and then, listen, I'm not anti-frat. I'm not anti-sorority. As I said, my husband was in a frat. I'm anti-bad people.
Yes.
When you have someone who's a leader in any group and you follow the leader, you're at fault. You need to dig down and know what are my values. And when someone's in trouble, do I follow the bad guy or do I like step it up and go against the crowd? And so that's really the message,
Yes, I think so. And obviously, there are a lot of subtext and overarching themes to this film. Of course, the importance of family, father, son, mother, son. But really, when people watch this, Siobhan, what is your hope outside of obviously we want people to be entertained because it is funny. You're hilarious in the first few minutes. You're saying your morning mass, your Hail Marys, and your phone's going off. You're trying to get lunch ready for school and
Yeah.
all the trimmings of like what a household of a lot of people might deal with on a regular basis.
Well, Brett, I think what you hit on the head and what the message is, hey, this is a family with faith.
Yes.
And when something horrible happens, the faith that the mom had as she made the lunches, swearing her head off and praying at the same time, she's like, oh, I want to have a peaceful time in the morning, say my prayers and make the lunch. It's my alone time. And then she's like, time to get up. Holy crap, we're late.
Yes.
Yelling at the daughter. It's like, your skirt's too short. You look like a hooker. And, it's just like this mom who's just trying to juggle it all. But in the end, what really pulled her through all this trouble is her faith. That's not to say she didn't do some things that really weren't
Yes.
exemplary of a fine, faithful woman, which is what makes it interesting, because you can be as faithful and as big of a goody-goody as you want. But when someone crosses your kid, all bets are off, at least in my book. And it's like, hey, listen, God, like someone said to me the other day, Siobhan, you've written this movie, produced it, you're starring in it. Like, we're 10 days away. I'm like, it's like of the birth of a child that
Yes.
has been a very difficult pregnancy. I mean, honestly, that's the way I kind of feel. I'm like, my daughter said to me the other day, Mom, you have bubbles under your eyes. I'm like, I'm exhausted. Because Brett, I've not just been doing this. I'm in addition to Vertical Entertainment, who's distributing the movie, doing a fabulous job, and Octane's distributing it in Europe. I'm calling theaters myself. I'm like, hey, Vertical has it into these theaters, but how would you like it, Cleveland, Ohio? What about you, Hawaii? And I'm like, I'm like, my grandfather was in real estate. He said, knock on 100 doors, and if one opens, you're lucky. Well, one opened, then 2 opened, then 45 opened, then, we're killing it. And, but what it all comes down to is a family. A lot of times when something bad happens to a family, the family falls apart. And what does really keep you together is your faith. And Robert Patrick said, Siobhan, a lot of times these faith-filled movies are icky, but this isn't icky. This is the real deal. This is, a family that's not faking it. They swear their faces off. They pray their faces off, and they stick together and they fight the good fight.
Yes, I would agree with his statement very much so. You watch these faith films, quote unquote, and you just feel weird after it's over, or like this isn't well, considering that's kind of my background in the past. You feel weird. You're like, this doesn't make sense. There's no way a family would act or behave like this, but it's very convincing, 100%. And then addressing the topic of, how far would a parent go to protect their child, or even.
And that's where the thriller element comes in. That's where the thriller comes in. And I will tell you, because the dialogue works so well is really a tribute to my kids, because they came home from college to this movie. This house was decorated like a frat house. And I said, let's read through some of these frat scenes and sorority girl scenes. They're like, Mom, like I'd be like, yo, dude, do you want to go smoke a doobie? They'd be like, oh my God. My son Peter wrote the drug dealer scene with Fat Nick. I mean, we have some fabulous musicians in this. Fat Nick's this great rapper. And my son cast him too. He's like, hey, what about Fat Nick? And you know, and then I had fabulous actors. I mean, in addition to Robert Patrick, we've got Perry Gilpin from Frasier. She's incredible. And as I said, Jake Weary from Animal Kingdom and JJ Warren. And a lot of young talent.
I mean, just amazing.
I mean, these kids, well, Ellie Frankel, who plays my daughter in it, I occasionally would do acting classes at my house when I was out of work. And, you know, like I had a passion for teaching. No, I'm only kidding. I really do love to teach. And Ellie been in my class since she was 6 years old. Lily Rosenthal does a great job. Liam Hogan is my nephew. My daughter Sinead plays Jake Weary's girlfriend. My son Peter plays a bad boy frat boy. So it's like it's like where it's a family affair over here.
Yeah, and I love that when the whole family is involved in the business, and it's like, are we going to get paid for this? Well, you just be lucky that you're in a movie.
Brett, I'm literally like, shut up and go hang posters and post this on that stupid social media or whatever in God's name you are to get that out. I'm literally 24/7 like, did you post it? Did you put it up? Did you hang it up? It's hysterical.
I love it. I mean, you've done a lot of amazing work in the past. You've done a lot of comedy, a lot of the lighter type things going all the way back. I mean, just your pedigree is massive. But this, I feel like, is fun. It's exciting. It's hilarious. There's a lot of humor and nuance throughout it, from the beginning even towards some of the more dramatic parts, which we will not spoil.
Yes.
Because people have to watch this. At the end of the day, as an actor, and you have done a lot of things, you've been a part of everything from the, you know, studio, massive $1 billion budget picture to something like this, where you're literally out hustling. And as someone who works in sales, I get it.
Yeah.
Trying to get theaters to put it inside, and you've got names attached to it. Do you find more satisfaction in something like this, where you know you've put blood, sweat, and tears in it, to versus something like a studio picture where all you have to do is just kind of show up and do your lines and perform? I mean, I'm not trying to lead the witness, but I'm very curious, like, because you've got a huge background.
Okay, so when you're in a film like Forrest Gump, Men in Black, it's fabulous. You're in your trailer, you're with Tommy Lee Jones, Will Smith, you're with Gary Sinise, you're like rocking it. You're getting your, you know, like, would you like some sushi? Okay, when you're in this, I'm like, hey, did that truck arrive? Hey, did you guys pick up Robert at the airplane? Hey, so you're producing, you're like, what's for lunch? So-and-so has a gluten-free problem. You know, you are like, it's like juggling. Then it's international. We're like, I'm flying to France, which, believe me, I'm not complaining on that, to edit. I'm bringing people over. So, I mean, this is a dream come true. When I walked out of my house day one to my other friend, her name is Siobhan as well, who let us use their house for the O'Brien family house for a week. And I walked up the street in my hometown, my town that's now Rumson, New Jersey. I'm from Casanova, New York originally. We actually shot the exterior scenes there at the end of the movie. But when I walked out of my house with my dog, by the way, because I had to give my dog to a PA to walk, and I saw those trucks and I saw those lights, I was like, holy smokes, we did it. And I mean, honestly, it's unbelievable. And when we open on August 27th, you know, we're doing the whole deal, the red carpet, and everybody's coming in for it. And all the investors, all the people that gave us their houses, but people housed crew for free. They stopped by with lasagna. They did everything. I mean, it's like, it's major. And it's really, really makes you realize that people are great. People are really stepped up for us.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a lot of work. And that old adage that a lot of actors say, if you aren't getting to be in the content you want, or you want to create content, just do it, because
absolutely,
this is the perfect example.
Listen, I had written one-woman shows over the years. My first one-woman show got me on SNL. And I always talk to young actors. I go, look, you're not happy? Write your own stuff. You think you can't write? Just start writing. I got on SNL and Seinfeld because I wrote a one-woman show. About 10 years later, I had my 3 kids. I wrote another one-woman show. This movie came because I was going to write another one-woman show. And I said, you know what? I don't really feel like it, because when you go out after a one-woman show, who do you talk to? Yourself. That's getting a little weird at my stage. People might think I'm going insane. So I was like, well, wait a minute. If I can write one-woman shows, I can write a movie. And that's where Rushed came from.
Yeah, it's amazing. And again, this premieres on the 27th of August, video on demand, Apple Plus, all of the streamers in theaters near you. Hey, I say if you're listening and you want to see this in your theater, give your theater a call and say, are you guys going to be screening Rushed? And again, it's just fantastic. One last question here. I'm very curious, when you were creating this film and you're talking about some interesting conversations and subjects about fraternities and rushing. Again, personally, we have no issue with it. We've both been involved to some degree. Do you think there might be some interesting things to be said about it as far as your portrayal of the fraternities and kind of what takes place? Or are you just kind of like, hey, it is what it is? Because it can be a very interesting space. As a side note, I remember in my college, Emporia State, back in Emporia, Kansas, we were having conversations about, you know, what is acceptable and not acceptable for bringing pledges in. I mean, it's a very important conversation because it exists. It's real.
It exists. It's not just the fraternities. It's not just the sororities. It's college kids. When I was in college, the drinking age was 18, so kids drank beer. They changed it to 21. It's a big problem. That should go back to 18 so kids can stop sneaking vodka in water bottles and hard liquor, and people stop marketing, you know, whatever those drinks are with the vodka in them to kids. What in the hell are kids doing drinking hard liquor when you could count your beers. Okay, I've had 3 beers, I'm done. Or I've had 6, I better get the hell home. But you know, that's the bigger problem to me.
Sure.
And when there is that problem, do you do the right thing? Or when someone's forcing someone to drink too much, no matter what institution you're in, do you say, hey, don't do that? Or if your friend's overdone it, get them out of there. Or if your friend's overdone it, no matter where you are, sorority, fraternity, beach house, young or old, freaking call 911. You know what I mean? Do the right thing. Be a person. And, you know, maybe that's where the faith comes in, because maybe everything's too relative now and everything is like, whatever. Well, it's not whatever. You got a life in your hands. Take care of each other, and dealing with hard liquor is dealing with Russian roulette.
Yes, I agree. So it's clearly the bigger picture here is not, you're not zeroing in on like, it's just in general responsibility, being
absolutely
conscious of the situation. You know,
right.
There's a few scenes where it's like, hey, give me my phone, you know, don't give up your cell phone. And I think as a parent, honestly, like I'm thinking, well, my son is 7, eventually he's going to go out and be making these choices.
Right.
And I think it also comes to just parents being involved in the home from the start. Like this character, who is, even though we call her Helicopter, she's concerned about her kid. She's laying in bed at 2 a.m, waiting for him to respond. You know, it's an amazing film. I'm excited for people to watch it. I have a couple more chances to watch it, so I think I'm going to watch it again.
Thank you so much, Brett. I so
absolutely
appreciate it.
It's a
I
great
just hope
film.
people get out there opening weekend, August 27th, because it is all over the place. And if it's not in your hometown, watch it on demand. And I promise you'll love it. We've screened it many times, young and old. There's 2 audiences. There's the kids going into college, the college kids, whoever's been to college, and then there's the parents. And across the board, we've gotten, I can't even tell you, like great marks, and everyone seems to love it. And I'm really excited about it.
It's amazing. Be sure to check it out. We will put links in our show notes. This episode will go out today.
That's what I'm going to tell you. You can follow it at Rushed Movie on Instagram. You can follow it on Facebook, Rushed Movie. The trailer, check the trailer out. Vertical did an incredible job. It's like a thriller that you won't believe. Rushed Movie 2021.
Yes, and you recently joined Cameo. Is that true? Or
my son made me join Cameo, and he said to me, Mom, you should be doing Cameo. And I go, what's Cameo? And so it was the funniest thing. We were on a road trip and we joined, and then it went ping, you have a Cameo. And we laughed. I love it so hard.
Yes,
yeah.
Well, be sure to find her on there. Again, amazing work. Siobhan, thank you for joining us.
Thanks a million.
Today.
I appreciate it. Enjoy your son.